Yes, guys, welcome back to another week of the weekly roundup. We're on week 30, and yes, we're obviously joined by Cryptoinsightuk UK this week, but we're just addressing the elephant in the room because he's not in his usual background setting, even though that's been ever changing. But he's in Malaysia. He's in a little hotel. You don't want to see a room tour, trust me. You don't want to see a room tour. So apologies if the connection's a bit bad, etc.
Yeah,
But
and the quality of the stream this week, I mean, of the YouTube is not going to be as good as it has been in terms of like my voice and mic and stuff. But it is what it is. I'm just here on a visa run from Bali. For you have to like leave the country for a night to get your visa on arrival again. It was the only thing that really made sense with my visas because I'm going to Australia in like I don't know, let's say 40 days. So if I was going to do a business visa, it would expire anyway. So it made sense to
just
do this, but it's not exactly a luxury. Let's put it that way. This room's I've stayed in better rooms, but I don't want to complain because life's life, and I'm out here doing this. So
is what it is. The show must go on, though. Eh? The show
mhm
must go on. But yeah, like always, got news for you guys, and then we're also going to finish off with a bit of XRP because there's a lot going on today in XRP this week. We'll the amicus briefs, and then we'll go over the price charts. But yeah, we got you guys. But we'll start off with this one. So we got asset management giant Apollo launched a Bitcoin and crypto custody service for its clients, and yeah, they manage $515 billion worth in assets. And obviously, not saying that's all going to go into crypto, but it's another week. It's another big company trying to get involved with it with crypto. Literally, I'm pretty sure I said it last week that I'm sure like next week we're going to be reporting on a similar story to what we did last week, kind of thing, in terms of like a big corporation, big asset management firm kind of thing coming in into
mhm
the crypto space and wanting a piece of it. So it's nothing. There's not really anything to like say specifically about it. Really, it's just thought I'd bring it to your guys' attentions, but a bit more juicier,
mhm.
because I think we just missed this last week because I think obviously we record on Thursday. This came out Friday. Visa to launch Bitcoin wallet.
Well, it's actually Bitcoin, ETH, and XRP. I'm pretty sure. But
Is
it's,
it
yeah, it's just a Bitcoin archive guy just loves talking about Bitcoin only, doesn't he? So
Bitcoin Maxi over there?
yeah, but that
But
is
yeah, again,
mad.
it's huge, isn't it? Visa. Again, did we speak about Visa last week? I feel like we spoke about Visa somehow last week, but nonetheless, it's big. But the first two stories are a bit. We'll leave them to the side. Just bring them to your attention. Um, but yeah, this is another big one,
Mhm
and another kind of echo the point we said last week before, is the fact that your exchanges are making it like easier for your everyday guy, everyday girl to get involved in crypto. And as you can see here, FTX now allows users to send crypto via email and phone number. So before, obviously, when we first got into crypto, I'm sure that it was much harder before we got into crypto. If you wanted to move it from wallet to wallet or this to there or maneuver it around, it's a bit it's not hard. Well, we personally obviously didn't think it was hard, but for someone who isn't involved in crypto and they want to, I don't know, send crypto to somewhere else, they can now do it by email and phone number. So it's just again, they're still building and they're getting ready for this mass adoption phase that we're obviously going to go through once we kind of come out of this bear market kind of thing. But that's huge because it makes everything a lot easier now. This does, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like that barrier to entry is exactly what we're talking about. We've got some more stories like coming in the next few tabs that echo this even further. But I remember when I first got into the crypto space, like the only place I really knew to buy, or the only place I would even semi-trust to buy crypto with fiat was Coinbase. It was not instant. It took like a few days. And then even from there, if I wanted to trade any sort of altcoin, I think they only had like Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and maybe like one or two others, maybe Ethereum.
Mm.
I had to send the Bitcoin to like another exchange, then trade it on there, and then send it like trade it back into Bitcoin, send it back to Coinbase if I wanted to cash it out.
That's mad.
Yeah,
This
no,
is like this is what I was trying to say to you, like, Liv. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but look how far we've come since me and you personally, or well, not you, but like since I kind of dove into crypto, which is what 2 years ago now, just over
hmm
2 years ago, and we've come that far in 2 years. Imagine how we're gonna carry on, continue to progress, even if it's just little things like this, but maybe bigger things in the future. And like the speed that it's kind of progressing is just kind of gradually like it's picking up faster and faster and faster. Don't you think?
yeah, that's the other thing is like especially with technology and like we talked about Metcalfe's law and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
the faster like technology like this gets adopted, the faster it gets adopted in the future. Which obviously like sounds a bit stupid to say, but like the more people that come into the space, the faster the adoption like will go. And this is
Yeah.
something that's drawn upon a lot by institutional investors, especially like Kevin O'Leary makes this point, and he says that if you've got all the smartest minds in the world wanting to work in the blockchain space, he reckons that 40% of the top universities in America want to work on the blockchain. He's like, with that much intellectual capital coming into space, what do you think is going to happen in the future? It's like obviously just going to be adopted, and things are going to happen much faster if all the new and brightest minds are coming into space. Like, and what we're going to talk about in the next few tabs is like, I don't know how people can even be skeptical about crypto anymore.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like you said, if we've got all these top universities, which they are, because I think I don't know if we've covered it in the newsletter or the podcast, but I think we covered something not so long ago about the top X amount of universities in the US, like getting involved in crypto, and Ripple as well, actually investing in like the university. You've got all these blockchain companies as well, who are also putting money into it, so they can start getting the next generation of like us, for example, who are currently studying. So they can like clue themselves up on crypto, allow them to learn about the new technology, etc. So when that generation really comes to like our age, for example, in another like 5-6 years, that's when I think we're going to see even more like crazy growth, because that's what that generation is working on right now.
Yeah, because then you've also got like Gen Z and the really young, like much younger generations who have lived in the tokenized economies of the gaming world throughout their life. They're just going to be like at one with tokenization anyway. And I actually listened to a podcast today when I was on the plane from Bali to Malaysia. I was listening to Raoul Pal speak to the CEO of Blockchain.com, and I can't remember his name specifically, but something he said that really like stuck with me is, out the back of the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was born, and then for the last 12 to 14 years, they've been building up to an institutional level alternative for a financial system. And he's super excited that, yes, he thinks the world's on the precipice of another financial disaster, is what the blockchain.com, I think it was blockchain.com CEO was saying. But he's so excited because he thinks that they've built a feasible alternative for institutions and also retailers to have the choice to invest in. He was like, if this had happened 5 years ago, there's no way people would even consider investing, but now people actually have a choice as to where to put some extra capital. Do you put capital into Bitcoin stuff if things start to go like tits up? Do you put it into crypto services? And before, we have never had the infrastructure, but now, whether people do or don't, he doesn't know that, and no one obviously knows what will happen in the future, but that option is there when it's never been there in the past. And I think that such a great point to draw on, because it's so exciting. It's so true. It's like these rails, like you're seeing from all the big institutions, that option is there now, and that hasn't been there.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. We could draw back to the other point. Like, imagine like where we're going to be in like 5 years' time, with from coming not to have an option 8 years ago, whatever, to now having like exchanges now, like people our age or who are tech savvy, who've grown up with computers, iPhones, etc., are now coming into the world. And then to further that even more, we've got, like you said, Gen Z you was talking about. They're obviously still in that like education phase, and once they kind of come into like a bit more of a mature phase, like within their like say mid to late 20s, when they're going to start investing, it's just going to be crazy. And then you can just again draw that back to Metcalfe's like adoption curve, and it just all starts to make sense in your head, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like, go on, let's just get into the next bit, because then we can relate it again, because I've got something else I want to talk about.
Because it all kind of relates. The whole kind of episode, apart from like the XRP, it all kind of relates into like mass adoption and how these companies are kind of making, like we said, every week, making things a lot easier for everyone to get involved. And like here as well, so we've got Binance. This came out today. Not read too much into it as of yet, but Binance have like partnered with Ledger. So as was telling me, explain it to me offline before we jumped on it. So obviously, if you have a Ledger, I don't know if majority of you do or don't, we do. So you have like a Ledger Live app, and now Binance have obviously partnered with Ledger, so you can buy crypto through obviously the Binance exchange via the Ledger app. So
I mean, it's pretty big. Like, like Ledger Live is just like an extension of like a user interface for the actual Ledger device, and there was some sort of swap exchange in there. I don't know who they were partnered with before, but now obviously being able to access all the coins on Binance through your Binance account, it just makes it a lot easier to then. And I don't even think you have to like. I don't even know how you transfer it, but I've only skim read the article, but it said that it's even going to make storage of the assets a lot easier as well, because I don't think you have to make transfers. Like, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I don't think you have to like make transfers specifically into your ledger, like leaving obviously the Binance platform or however that's going to work. But there was a statement in there saying it's going to make it even easier for like crypto purchasers. So I don't know.
Which is it's good because like, this even excites me, someone who doesn't mind obviously doing it the old-fashioned way in terms of like transferring your address and tags and all that kind of stuff. Like the fact that obviously we like to keep our, and like we shout about, we like to keep all of our crypto like on a ledger because it's obviously a lot safer than keeping it on an exchange for the reasons we've discussed. But obviously once, because I personally got literally pretty much all of mine on my ledger at the moment, none sitting on an exchange, only a tiny amount. But if I did ever want to do anything with it, I'd have to like obviously go through that whole process. So the fact that they're working towards a process that's going to make that easier for us is it's great. And obviously, like I said, all these new people who are going to get involved who have just grabbed the ledger as well, giving them the option to do that as well is going to keep more likely for them to invest more money, etc. So it's quite clever, obviously, Binance taking advantage of that as well.
Absolutely.
And on the topic of Binance kind of getting involved, they've been on the topic of the news everywhere recently. I feel like Binance and the CEO, Twitter, it's been everywhere at the moment this week. Not much else has kind of been spoken about within like the crypto space. But the next two tabs are like they obviously do relate to each other because we're speaking about Binance and their potential involvement in Twitter. So obviously it says here, CEO said he would probably join the Twitter board if Elon Musk asked him to. Obviously it's kind of a bit of a stupid thing because obviously anyone would join a Twitter board, especially the Binance CEO, obviously knowing that Elon Musk is pro crypto, etc., etc. But the point I'm trying to get to, and it was related to this one here, and he probably put here, look, crypto, Twitter, and I'm pretty sure I think he invested $500 million, I think it is. I think that's the figure to help Elon Musk buy Twitter. So there's a lot of links there between Binance and Twitter. Then you've got Twitter potentially opening a wallet. Is there gonna be sort of connection there with Binance? Are Binance making the early move as the biggest exchange to get involved with one of the biggest social media platforms? I can just see something. I'm sure you can as well. So it doesn't really take a genius to see it, but I can see like a big collaboration coming here between Binance and Twitter. I don't know how they're going to do it. There's a lot of speculation for, I don't know, you know how obviously he's charging $8 to do the verification process now to hold a blue tick. Is that going to be paid through BNB or Binance, or no one really knows? I guess everyone's speculating right now, but
Yeah.
do you think anything will come out of this?
Well, I mean, the markets are showing that that retail investors think there's going to be a heavy involvement with Dogecoin. And I think that makes sense because Elon likes Doge and he tweets a lot about Doge, but I think Elon, as a business person, would be not well advised to leave other cryptos out just to promote Doge. I think that there will be a vast majority of cryptos that will be integrated if there is some sort of payment service with Binance themselves. And I think that there has to be a facilitator, like an exchange at least. We've already seen the like tip-in system on Twitter, but there'll be probably a way to like buy and sell crypto through Twitter. And we've seen like the other week, you can like now buy NFTs through like a simple tweet. You can like click the tweet and then takes you straight to the OpenSea. So it's only extra extensions. And then if we go, actually I saw, just before we move on to the next tab, I saw Binance CEO, this CZ obviously, he also tweeted out there looking to buy a bank.
Looking to buy a bank?
Yeah. He tweeted that today, I think, yeah.
That's mad, that is.
So
imagine if they actually go ahead and buy a bank.
Oh yeah, I know. So they've had a few big things going on, obviously partnering with the Ledger, then maybe going and working with Twitter, and then saying they're going to buy a bank. It's like, all right, chill out, bro.
I know, it kind of takes me back to the story we were talking about last week with FTX and how obviously the whole crypto space is supposed to be like so decentralized, but this guy, he's kind of doing the same thing as Sam Bankman-Fried. Really, he's just kind of, obviously he's doing it for, well, hopefully anyway, with good intentions, and the fact he's trying to grow Binance into like one of the biggest things ever in the world, biggest corporations, full stop, which is clever. It's very good to do in the bear market. But then again, it just started raising those questions like, is he going to have too much say in the crypto industry? Do you know what I mean? So it kind of, there's a bit of grey area there for me, but still, nonetheless, it's really bullish, and what he's done is incredible for crypto in general.
Yeah, I agree.
But we shall see, like with Sam Bankman-Fried, we shall see how it kind of plays out and how they play their cards. But again, some huge news that kind of dropped yesterday evening kind of thing. Meta announces support for buying and selling Polygon NFTs on Instagram. Now this is crazy because obviously Instagram is arguably, I'm pretty sure it actually is, but it is way bigger than Twitter in terms of like the amount of active users on it. And Instagram's all about posting pictures. NFTs are obviously pictures, JPEGs, whatever. And now people are going to be able to access them through all my friends have Instagram, and I'm guessing a lot of your friends, vast majority have them on Instagram. So now everyone's going to have instant access to these Polygon NFTs. And just a quick shout out as well, obviously Will's been banging on about Matic in the newsletters on Twitter for the past like month now, so don't say we didn't tell you, because we told you something big was going to happen with Polygon. But this is huge, like we said at the start of the episode, like we said last week, the fact that corporations within crypto, within like NFTs, whatever it is, are making it so easy for people to get involved. And I think, like I said as well, that's the key for mass adoption in terms of when we do enter that euphoria phase in the next bull cycle, having this stuff already in place, ready for people, retailers to just jump on it, is just going to cause a massive explosion, and it's just massive for crypto full stop.
No, I completely agree. I'm just literally just going to check on my phone quickly to see exactly what the company was called within Matic, who are Matic are helping out. So they're called ARweave, so ARWEAVE, who's partnered with Meta, so that's with Matic obviously as well. And they pumped massively to like 67%, but like we were saying, Matic also pumped like 12%. This is what we were saying, that Matic is going to do something, but again, barrier to entry is tiny. I've got a video on my phone that I'm about to post after this. The video will be out before this podcast comes out, but it's about how to actually mint the NFTs on Instagram and sell them, and you select your royalties through it, and you select the price, and it looks super, super, super easy to do. I'm not going to lie. You just have to connect your MetaMask, literally pick your royalties, pick how many you want in the collection, and pick your price, essentially, and that's it. And it just looks like, well, that just shows what the future's going to be like. And then again, another barrier to entry taken down, when we just talked about Twitter and how much they're trying to integrate Web3, and now we've got literally Meta, the company who was like at 1.2 billion active users or something, and they're implementing that into Instagram, and it's just like, this is everything that we could ever dream of as crypto holders. It's going to create mass adoption. It's putting NFTs in the face of people who've never seen NFT before.
Exactly, and that's the whole point. That's literally the whole point. I feel like this past 2 months have been like the months of social media's trying to get involved. We're not trying to, obviously, evidently they are involved now in crypto, and like I don't sound like a parrot, but everyone's got a phone, everyone's got social media. People our age are just all over social media every day, spend hours a day on social media. So the fact that crypto is kind of now getting involved, getting in their faces, it's just going to cause such an explosion in terms of like you said, mass adoption. And
actually to add to that, we also saw Reddit. Reddit's been blowing up with like NFTs for profile pictures. Their trading volume was like more than OpenSea, and it's like, this is exactly what's happening. We've got Twitter, Reddit, now Instagram all coming to the Web3 space. And when the leader of the Animoca brand, who like works with a lot of like metaverse companies, says that they think 300 million people are going to come into Web3 space through NFTs and gaming in the next 18 months, which is 300 million, the absolute peak that we had in this bull run. So it's double what we've already had in the bull run. 300 million extras are going to come into the space. I can completely see that if you're putting this sort of information out and pushing it in front of this many people. How many people like a profile picture, or like young people like a skin on Fortnite, or like a skin on COD? It's going to be exactly the same with profile pictures. We're already kind of seeing it on Twitter. As soon as the PFPs came through, you could verify your profile picture. NFTs kind of had a leg of explosion. As soon as you can do that sort of thing, even small time on like well, you've seen it on Reddit, like the last few months. If they've overtaken OpenSea on with volume, you can only buy a profile picture. It shows exactly the need just to flex a profile picture, let alone anything else. It's like it's going to be crazy. The adoption is going to be crazy, and the big thing about it is a lot of these people will have never used Web3 before, will never used crypto before Web3. They're just going to be new people to Insta thinking about how do I get that profile picture like that. I want to own that exact picture that no one else can own. All they need to do nowadays is literally download a MetaMask wallet. Probably will be one click on Insta to download your MetaMask, set it up, and then one click to purchase or like deposit. 'Cause you can even deposit through MetaMask now. So it's
Mm.
the barrier to entry is just tiny now.
Yeah, that's good. I love to see these barriers getting smashed down. Like you're even going to see, like for example, a COD skin kind of thing. Even I'm 27. I still play like COD here and there, and I love having like good skins, whether it's for your character or whatever. All these like kids who are on COD Twitter, because obviously a lot of gamers like use Twitter for example. They're going to have all these as their display pictures, as their like, in terms of like their personal skins kind of thing. And most of if you look at the demographic in terms of age, most of these gamers are young, like teens kind of thing. So the fact that we're going to get them involved in the crypto slash Web3 space within a matter of what I'd say this is all going to come into fruition. I'd say in a couple of years, a few years kind of thing, maybe less, who knows. The fact that we're getting that demographic involved in crypto is another big driving factor and another reason why I'm so bullish on it long term.
It's crazy. It's actually
It's
crazy.
crazy. It is crazy. But we'll move on to some more towards the XRP side of it now. Obviously, XLS20 is live. It went live on the 31st of October. I don't know when you tweeted this actually, but it's live. The projects are live. No hiccups so far. Touch wood. Everything's going good. I know Will's purchased and minted a couple NFTs. Which ones have you minted then?
Obviously no affiliation with any of these projects. Have had affiliation with both projects actually in the past, but nothing ongoing. I just think they're the two biggest hype projects in the market. I've got one X Vector agent, and I've got a few other things with it. Like I don't understand really what's going to come from that. I haven't done too much research into the project, but I just wanted to mint some of the biggest like things of the community. I minted one X Vector, and I also minted one XRPL Punk or XR Punk, whatever their specific title is. I have done a reveal on both. I think I tweeted about X Vector and replied to a tweet with my XR Punk, but I will probably show them at some point on a video soon.
So yeah, I'm just happy nothing went wrong with it this time. To be fair, like we'll go into the charts at the end. It didn't really affect XRP's price too much, but the fact that there's a lot more traffic going through it is good. And like I said, we'll go into the charts.
I also think that the like the interfaces for actually minting the NFTs have been like a bit difficult for the websites because they had like quite a lot of volume. I think like on XRP was saying they had like 1,000 users a second or a minute or something like that, and it was more volume than they expected, and it made it quite hard for them. And obviously, there's not actually a lot of collections on the XRPL yet, and they're all kind of spread out through the different like marketplaces. So it's all like trying to find its footing. But apparently the volume for XPunk specifically was something like a quarter of Cardano's monthly volume for NFTs. So it's like in one day. So it shows that there's quite a lot of like volume there at least.
That's loads. It's loads. Right, final bit of news. Potentially the biggest bit of news, well, for us personally. It's been a crazy week. We've now got 11 amicus, however you want to pronounce it, briefs filed now. It was 10 yesterday. We had another one filed today, this morning, and yeah, obviously, what I would say is for those who are interested, go check out obviously our guy Jeremy Hogan's YouTube video. He sums them all up. He goes through kind of most of them and kind of shows which direction they kind of came in from. So obviously we've got spend the bits, we've got Ironmit, we've got Coinbase, which was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think they would actually file one. And then we've obviously got Josh Eaton with a 75k plus XRP army behind him as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, if you watch the video, he breaks it down because we've got Spend the Bits and Ironmit who kind of come in and they kind of stress that Ripple they don't control like the XRPL. They can't control who decides to use it, etc. So they take that route. Coinbase kind of argued in support of Ripple's fair notice, and then obviously you got John Deaton, who's kind of humanized the case and brought all these not only the fact that these big corporations like Spenderbits and Ironmet are getting affected by this, but also us retail investors are also kind of getting affected by it. But what do you think of it all?
No, I think you're bang on there, and the fact that like we're seeing 10 people step up, and we also obviously seen like the Digital Asset Association and Digital Chamber of Commerce. I think that's what, like, and some others along those lines who are kind of like regulators in the space, or not necessarily regulators, but looking forward with like rules for digital assets coming in. It just shows how much is actually riding on this case in terms of the general use of crypto, but also how many people, like you were saying, are supporting Ripple, like Coinbase, for example, who said they were supporting both Ripple and Grayscale with their ETP rejection from the SEC. Just saying, like, specifically for fair notice, well, there's been nothing clear that Coinbase even had to go to the SEC to ask them for extra regulation because they didn't know what was clear and what wasn't. So it's massively bullish for Ripple because it comes at the SEC in three different ways. One, that it's harming the people that they're trying to protect. Two, there are actually no fair laws because there wasn't any laws. And three, like John Deaton's put even within his case, is that the actual asset of XRP was never a security. It's kind of similar to comparing it to like the orange in the Howey test, whereas actually it's supposed to be the contract of selling the orange that would make it a security if you use the actual Howey test. So it puts three extra holes in the SEC's argument. And what can they say back? Like, because if you've got a literal company who have gone to the SEC, this is the biggest one for me, the Coinbase one. If you've got a company who sell crypto and they've gone to the SEC saying we need extra help with regulation because we don't understand what's going on, how can the SEC even argue back to that? Because that'll be factual. They'll have meetings that Coinbase have come in to ask for extra regulation because they don't understand what is and what isn't a security. And if the law is that for something to be deemed a security or to be sued for something that's supposed to be a security, the average person needs to understand that it was obviously a security. So if Coinbase lawyers couldn't understand it was obviously a security, then the SEC have no leg to stand on in this case. So I'm interested to see what happens next. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I interpret things and the information that I'm told and what I read, but I don't understand how this case can even continue. Surely the judge just like sees the filing and she's just like, I mean, what else can you say? Like, yeah, cool. Like, I don't know.
This is exactly what I'm saying. Ripple don't have to do anything at this point. You've got all these like 11 amicus briefs getting filed, and all of this information's just been laid straight in front of the judge. So obviously, from an outside perspective, for us, it's just like, yeah, well, case is done. Surely, then, like, you can't really argue with that. But like we said, this legal process is a lot more complicated than people kind of think. So and it's a lot lengthier than people think as well. So what comes out of it, again, is yet to remain to be seen, because I don't think the SEC have kind of filed any like objection or more time extension to like deal with these briefs as of yet. Whether they do or not, again, we'll have to find out. I'm sure we'll have an answer for you next week. But what makes you think, man? Because like this is a lot of pressure now. We said this every week, and every week there's additional pressure on the SEC. How much more can they take before they crack, or there's some sort of settlement, or even Coinbase relisting XRP? Do you think Coinbase will relist XRP, or do you think they'll just...
I don't know, like, that would be a big FU to the SEC and a big support of the actual space in general, and I think they could make a lot of friends if they did that, but they kind of would do that at the sacrifice of potentially their own company, because if their XRP was deemed a security, if they did lose the case, then Coinbase, what legs they have to stand on? No, they'd be in trouble there. So I don't think it's out of the question, but I do think it's a risk that I personally, if I was running a company, probably wouldn't take, even though obviously I do love XRP as a crypto.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to think anything other than that. I'm just saying, if I was sitting in the seat of like Brian Armstrong as CEO, to be honest, actually, I probably would just say, look, let's just do it. I'll probably do it as a publicity stunt as much as anything. Bring in a hell a lot of community there, so I don't know.
Like you said, it's really risky, but even the fact that they've submitted like an amicus brief kind of says a lot there in itself, in a way. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like the points that they kind of relayed, they put themselves too much at risk by doing that, because they're obviously allowed to do that. But I'd love them to relist it. I would love them to relist it, because I think it would cause so much hype with XRP, and it would just shoot the price up. Talking about the price, Obviously yesterday we had a red day because of the FOMC meeting kind of thing.
Hmm.
What did they expect? They expected 50 basis points, didn't they? Well,
No,
not everyone expected 75, but there was some sort of like hype getting built up that there was going to be like a 50
yeah.
basis point hike.
Yeah, I think it was like 80% of the market expected 75 and 20% expected 50. But
Yeah,
I think that the main like negativity came from Powell's comments after the small like clip on Twitter that I think I've retweeted, I'm not sure, where someone asks Jerome Powell like what he thinks going forward and says that the markets are up, like what does he think of that? And Powell reiterates his hawkish stance, basically saying that we may have to raise interest rates higher than we thought, depending on what data shows us. But that kind of tells us two things. There's one, that if data changes, which I think the data is going to change any minute now, because like we've talked about before, I've been saying that they should change policy forward looking, but actually they're just looking at lagging indicators. And even the lagging indicators now are going to start to show cracks. So we've been saying that the forward looking indicators, like the ISM that we talk about in the newsletter, or you've talked about a few times in the newsletter, that's forward looking and it shows that cracks are coming. But then now we're actually going to start to see the cracks that have occurred in the lagging indicators as well. So I think that we could be seeing a different story from the Fed. And we also saw, I'm writing about this tomorrow in the newsletter. Senator Warren, Elizabeth Warren, has actually written into the Fed to Jerome Powell to say, please stop raising your interest rates so high. So we're starting to see pressure.
Please stop doing this.
Yeah.
It's actually a joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is what obviously the price it had, because I was waiting for this because I was hoping there'd be some sort of like positive outcome, but I don't know why I kind of fed that to myself, because XRP chart was it was floating around between this MA and this trend line. It's kind of been respecting for a while now, and it was getting squeezed. It was like bouncing up and down kind of thing, and we knew the FOMC meeting was coming yesterday, and I thought it's either obviously going to go below this MA, which it has unfortunately gone below. It's fighting back it now, but
Mhm.
the next meeting is between the 13th and 14th of December, I think, if my dates are
Okay.
correct. So let's see what happens there, because I think everything right now everything's kind of lying on that, because if we look at the DXY and how that reacted yesterday, it today we're seeing it break out of this like trend it's been in for what best part of like a month and a bit now kind of thing. So is the DXY going to go to 120? I'm speaking about this in this week's newsletter, just giving everyone a quick update and my thoughts on it, because obviously when it was bouncing up and down here, I really did think, like, as soon as actually when it closed below this MA, I was thinking I think the DXY could be on its way down now, but it just shows like FOMC gives it that, it acts as a catalyst and allowed it to kind of break out again. Whether it goes above the 115, which is like a target which I've been speaking about for a while now. I think we spoke about it on week 4 of the newsletter, and we're now at week 13, so 9 weeks ago. Whether it gets above this 115 is another thing. But if it does close above this like a local high here, I think unfortunately 120 is on the card, because there's not much resistance at all between 115 and 120. If you look back at the charts on the DXY, you won't see
Mhm.
much resistance like that's going to hold it back kind of thing. So for me, a lot's riding on the next FOMC meeting, whether it's the comments that they make in there, or whether it's reflected in a potential not pivot but slight slowdown in the rate hikes, or
Mhm.
anything like that. Anything bullish to come out of that will cause the DXY to
Yeah,
get go down, basically, because
definitely.
it's if you literally zoom out of this, I'm pretty sure we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. It just doesn't look right, does it? It's just shot up like this kind of thing. But
No,
what
but
goes up must come down.
it
So
must, and like,
that's
to be fair, like a topping structure could be forming, like we talked about a few weeks. We haven't actually, we've still set a lower low in the last few days, and we haven't broken the recent high. So if we reverse
yeah.
today or slash tomorrow, two pivotal days really, like you're saying, like we could like hold these levels and come further down. But with the FOMC, like the point that you're making, is it likely to continue upwards? Probably off the news and the tone of Jerome Powell, unless the markets have seen something that we haven't. But the bond markets are the things that like probably worrying people, and that's probably going to make people pivot. But also the Bank of Japan looking pretty messy. So Italy, to be honest, and the UK. But the UK looking a little bit stronger now with Rishi Sunak obviously coming into people are rallying behind him a little bit. But just with XRP, if we go back to that chart specifically, it looks like the 100 is going to come up above the 200 MA. Like, even if we stay at these levels, they are squeezing up, and that's just in time probably for. They probably won't get there for like maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks, and that's like in time for Ripple's swell event on the 16th, 17th of November, which we've been banging on about a lot recently. I'm super excited to see what comes out of that, and I would love something super positive to come out of that. Within the time frame between now and then, anything could genuinely happen with XRP price. I know blockchain backers called in for like a 39 cents because he wants to see a retest of the breakout or the sign of strength from XRP from that range. But who knows? Who knows what is going to come in the next few weeks? I think that, like I've said actually for a little while, is that I think we found our lows in June, July for Bitcoin and crypto specifically. And if you follow blockchain back, I think he's a good person to follow. He's been talking about Bitcoin dominance has been dropping. Could we be like teeing up for an alt season, looking at like the XRP chart and knowing what sort of catalysts we've got coming for alts like Algorand and the World Cup and all these like external catalysts, and then we've obviously got Meta and Polygon with NFTs. We've got all these catalysts like potentially lining up for some action from altcoins. So yeah, I think it could be looking good for alts. What Bitcoin does, I don't know. What ETH does, ETH's actually looking pretty strong at the minute. Everything's looking like it's like all on a knife edge. Everything's on a knife edge. So who knows is the actual answer. And just like we spoke about earlier in this podcast, the infrastructure is now there if we do have some financial problems for people to asset allocate into a different area that wasn't there or hasn't been there in financial times of financial crisis in the past. So let's see.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of the fact that everything's on a knife edge right now. There's a lot of like narratives on this side and the good side and the bad side. So if one does kind of kick off on, like, for example, like Japan, you take them for example, and like something bad happens there or something bad happens with like the Ukraine-Russia situation, it can obviously swing it in a completely different direction right now. So it kind of explains why there's so much like uncertainty, not just in crypto but every market and just in the world in general right now. So it's what it is, literally. Like, I'm pretty sure I said it last week again. It's one of those situations where we just have to literally let it unfold. There's nothing you can do but position yourself as well as you can in these situations. But yeah, I think that is a wrap for this week. Week 30 is done, and next week we'll be back out here. Will be back in Bali. He won't be in a little box in Malaysia somewhere. So hopefully we'll have better audio, but hopefully you guys heard us clear this week. But yeah, peace up.
Thank you for tuning in. Peace up, 8 pound down.